Can an entire country come to a standstill because of the arrival of a single footballer? I'm not talking about a World Cup final, or an eternal derby, or even a decisive match. I'm talking about something even stranger, a charity tour that ended up being bigger than many official tournaments. Lionel Messi landed in India as part of the GOAT Tour 2025, and what happened there was an explosive combination of devotion, spectacle, and collective fervor. Because in an era where idols are consumed quickly, Messi continues to trigger cultural earthquakes without even touching the ball, and the uncomfortable question arises on its own. What other player in history can generate this level of madness simply through their presence? From the very first minute, the scene felt like something out of a movie. Kolkata, a city with a deep football tradition, welcomed the Argentine captain with a 21-meter statue. 21 meters, almost as if Messi's figure needed to be elevated to the category of myth. A man who always avoided grandiosity turned into a giant monument in a country that adopted him as a universal symbol. The irony is obvious. The most humble footballer of his generation, immortalized in cement and metal. Doesn't that say far more about his impact than any speech ever could? The story continues at Salt Lake Stadium, where Shah Rukh Khan, India's most famous actor, was waiting to watch a friendly match. Cinema and football crossing paths in the same scene, Bollywood and the ball united by a single name. And another inevitable question emerges. How many times has football managed to become such a powerful cultural bridge, capable of connecting worlds so different from each other? The answer is clear. Very few times, and almost always, Messi is at the center. On December 13th, Hyderabad witnessed a seven-a-side match at the Rajiv Gandhi International Stadium, a reduced format, almost street football style that brought Messi back to the purest essence of the game, but within a monumental setting. And here, a quick recap is worth making to re-engage the story. Statue in Kolkata, encounter with Shah Rukh Khan in Salt Lake, football in Hyderabad. 3 cities, 3 different contexts, one single phenomenon. Because what was experienced wasn't just sport. It was ritual. It was culture. It was shared identity. On the 14th, Mumbai became the epicenter of the show. Paddle Cup, a friendly match with celebrities, a charity fashion show, Messi, Suarez, and DePaul acting as ambassadors of a football that is no longer limited to 90 minutes. And another subtle irony appears. While many criticize modern football for becoming too commercial, it is Messi himself who manages to give meaning to these events by turning them into charitable causes. Each city was a different chapter of the same novel, and every appearance reinforced the idea that the GOAT Tour was not a simple schedule, but a collective experience. On December 15th, New Delhi brought the curtain down, a meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and an event at Arun Jaitley Stadium. Politics and football crossing paths in a gesture that confirmed something obvious. Messi is no longer just a player, he is a social phenomenon. And here the reflection emerges naturally. What was experienced in India was not only sports idolization, it was proof that football can be a universal language, capable of crossing borders, religions, and cultures. Isn't that, in the end, the true magic of sport? From the statue to the stadium, from the dirt pitch to the runway, from politics to spectacle, everything connects in a seamless narrative, because Messi doesn't need pauses. And as we revisit each city, each gesture, and each ovation, the final question hangs in the air. What does it really mean to be the GOAT beyond titles and records? Maybe it's this: the ability to move the entire world without kicking a ball. But to fully understand what happened in India, it's important to look beyond the events themselves and into the country's relationship with football. India is not traditionally seen as a football superpower. Cricket dominates headlines, stadiums, and national pride. And yet, for decades, football has quietly lived in neighborhoods, on dirt pitches, in late-night broadcasts, and in the hearts of millions who grew up watching European leagues from thousands of kilometers away. In that hidden, persistent love for the game, Messi became more than a star. He became a reference point. For an entire generation of Indian fans, Messi was the reason to stay up all night watching Barcelona matches. The reason to learn club names, tactics, formations, and rivalries. The reason to choose football in a country where it wasn't the obvious choice. While leagues and federations came and went, Messi was constant. Week after week, season after season, his presence gave meaning to a sport that many followed in solitude, far from stadiums and local heroes. And that's where the emotional connection was forged, not through advertising campaigns or strategic branding, but through repetition, patience, and authenticity. Messi didn't speak to India directly, yet India listened. He didn't need to adapt his image or craft a narrative for a new audience. His football was enough. His silence was enough. His consistency was enough. That's why, when he finally arrived, the reaction wasn't that of fans meeting a foreign superstar. It was the reaction of people welcoming someone they already knew, someone who had been present in their lives for years through screens, highlights, goals, defeats, and triumphs, someone who had accompanied them without ever asking for attention in return. And what if that is the real definition of greatness? Not domination, not volume, not constant self-promotion, but permanence. Being there, enduring, allowing people to project their own stories onto yours. Messi didn't just represent excellence, he represented continuity in a world obsessed with novelty. That's why the phenomenon in India can't be explained by money, logistics, or planning alone. It was the result of a long emotional investment that finally found a physical form. A statue, a stadium, a handshake, a shared moment. All symbols of something that had already existed for years beneath the surface. In a football landscape increasingly driven by noise, controversy, and urgency, Messi remains the opposite. He doesn't chase attention, attention finds him. He doesn't demand loyalty, loyalty emerges naturally. And perhaps that's why his legacy feels different. Less imposed, more earned. Being the GOAT in this sense is not about being untouchable. It's about being deeply reachable. It's about allowing millions of people across continents and cultures to feel that a piece of their own story is connected to yours. India didn't just celebrate Messi. India recognized itself in him. And now the question returns, stronger than ever. Could any other player provoke a cultural revolution like this in such a short time, without even playing a competitive match? The answer may not lie in statistics or trophies, but in something far more elusive. Trust, memory, emotional truth. If you live football the way I do and want to keep exploring these stories that go far beyond the pitch, subscribe and join this community. Because what comes after Messi is not just football, it's living history, and we're going to tell it together.